I love this game! Hey everyone, my name is Colton Wiggs, and this is my review of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker is a 2002 action-adventure game developed and published by Nintendo for the GameCube. It was released in Japan in December 2002, and in 2003 in North America and Europe. While being an installment of the Zelda franchise, this game does several things that distinguishes it from other entries in the series, of which we will dive into throughout this review. Now personally, I believe this to not only be a top 3 Legend of Zelda game, but also one of the greatest action-adventure games ever created. Its world building, its soundtrack, and its characters offer an immersive experience that the player simply cannot get enough of. I love this game to death, and by the end of this review, you too will understand why. Now for my last review, I talked about Ocarina of Time, which was the first 3D Zelda game, and set the precedent for 3D games in the franchise moving forward. While many of the trademarks of a 3D Zelda entry are still here, this game does an excellent job of expanding and improving on these trademarks to offer a familiar, yet very unique experience for people familiar with these games. For starters, the world that we are cast into is far from the land of Hyrule we know and love. In fact, our world is far above it in this game, as we play in a vast ocean that has been created after Hyrule was flooded many centuries before we begin our adventure. Throughout this ocean, we find various islands, each with its own unique characteristics. These islands house numerous secrets to be discovered, many of which are essential to the progression of the story. The story in this game revolves around our main protagonist, a young boy who has lived a simple life on his home outside island. He wakes up on his birthday and is told the story of the great hero of time, who is actually Link from Ocarina of Time. Before he gets to enjoy his birthday celebration, however, he spots a giant bird carrying an unknown girl in his mouth, and after being struck with a cannonball by incoming pirates, the bird drops the girl into the forest at the top of the island. After defeating some basic enemies and rescuing the girl from the summit, we find our sister waiting to greet us from across the bridge at the summit. As she begins to cross, however, the bird swoops down and takes our sister, flying off into the distance. The gang of pirates agrees to sail us to the Forsaken Fortress, where they believe our sister has been taken to, and thus our hero's journey begins. Throughout the game, we discover several special items that allow us to solve various puzzles and more quickly destroy enemies. The game's main storyline involves the completion of several dungeons, with most providing us with their own unique item to be discovered. Now some of these items are found before entering a dungeon via a separate quest, however each dungeon will require a special item to progress through it. These items include the grappling hook, which is found in Dragon Roost Cavern, the Deku Leaf from the Deku Tree, which is necessary when exploring the Forbidden Forest, the Boomerang, which is found within the Forbidden Forest, bombs from the pirates, which are needed to complete the first major quest of the game, the Hero's Bow, which is found in the Tower of the Gods, the Skull Hammer found in the Forsaken Fortress, and the Hookshot found in the Wind Temple. Other non-damaging items that are still necessary to complete the game include the Iron Boots found in the Ice Mountain, and the Power Bracelets found in the Fire Mountain. With this arsenal of different weapons and items, the player will be able to defeat our final boss, Ganondorf, with no issues. Similar to previous 3D Zelda titles, the combat in this game utilizes what is known as Z-targeting. This mechanic allows the player to lock onto an enemy by holding down a trigger on the controller and continuously strike them without having to worry about pivoting the avatar manually in order to ensure a direct hit. While this mechanic is found in every 3D Zelda entry before this, an immense improvement can be found in the game's camera. With the Nintendo 64 controller only having one joystick, the amount of control the player had was limited greatly, as this one joystick was already being utilized to control player input for direction. With this game being an entry on the Nintendo GameCube, the option for player camera control thus became available. The GameCube controller featured an additional joystick, which in this game is used to freely move the camera around, making environments easier to observe, and movements easier to perform. This improvement has a massive impact on the playability of this title, as many new players may struggle with the camera limitations of the Nintendo 64 Zelda titles, while this title controls very similar to modern games of this genre and still feels natural today. While each item in the game is crucial to the progression of the story, no other item is more important than the one this game gains its title from, the Wind Waker. The Wind Waker is a magical conductor's baton that allows us to invoke many various powers of nature by conducting the voices of spirits in song. There are 6 different songs we can learn throughout the game, each with their own special power. These songs are the Wind's Requiem, which allows us to change the direction of the wind, the Ballad of Gales, which allows us to harness the power of cyclones to transport us throughout the sea, the Command Melody, which allows us to take control of statues and occasionally other NPCs that are found throughout the game, the Song of Passing, which allows us to change night to day, or vice versa, and the last 2, which are the Earth God's Lyric and the Wind God's Aria, both of which awaken sages later in the game. This magical baton is the central item in this game, and gives us the powers necessary to complete the main storyline. Now, one of my favorite aspects of this game is something that is not even required to complete the main storyline. While not new to this franchise, or action-adventure games as a genre, this game contains many side quests that can be completed in order to gain upgrades in health and weaponry, or simply to gain an aesthetic item that simply shows that you completed the side quest. While games like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are littered with side quests, this game takes it to a new level with the sheer amount of side quests you can complete. In total, there are 14 different categories of side quests found throughout, with each category having multiple side quests in them. What makes these so special to me is the sense of discovery you feel when you encounter one of these. For instance, you might find yourself on Windfall Island late at night, when you happen to notice a strange girl sneakily making her way through the town and wonder, what is that all about? Or you may find a distressed-looking teen sitting on a step talking about a round-shaped object that speaks to his emotions, and try to photograph what he's referring to. Many of these side quests begin with a simple observation that you may stumble upon accidentally, and the feeling of discovery and accomplishment when uncovering the secrets behind one of these side quests is unmatched. You may have noticed that some of the footage I'm using in this review looks much higher quality than other footage you have also seen in this review. This is because in 2013, an HD remaster for the game was released on the Wii U, titled The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD. Footage of this game is much easier to come by, and although I am reviewing the original GameCube version, the HD version contains very little differences and follows the exact same storyline. The HD version of the game upgraded the graphics significantly, adding shading and lighting that creates a more visually pleasant experience. While almost all of the differences found in this version are minuscule gameplay-wise, one significant detail is the addition of the quick sail, which allows the player to sail through the sea at a much faster rate than originally found in the GameCube version. Now, I personally enjoy the feeling and speed of the sailing found in the original version, as to me it makes the world feel much larger, and sailing feels like more of an adventure when it takes the amount of time to sail from island to island as it does. However, I completely understand why most people prefer the quick sail found in the HD remake, as a large amount of time in this game is spent sailing in the vast ocean of this world. There are so many other aspects of this game that I would like to cover. However, I don't think any of you would want to watch a movie-length review on this game right now, so I'll save you guys the time. I could talk for hours about how much this game has meant to me over the years. Initially, as a child, I got this game because Ocarina of Time was my favorite game, and I just wanted more Zelda. However, I first booted up the game on my GameCube, and I thought, this looks nothing like Ocarina of Time. I'm going to hate this. And I'm so glad that I continued to play. While the character design and the graphics can be a turn away from fans of the original 3D Zelda entries, I promise you, this story is unmatched. everything from seeing your favorite characters grow and change, uncovering the ever-growing mysteries of this world, and the soundtrack. Oh, the soundtrack. I genuinely shed a tear earlier listening to the soundtrack while creating this review. This game is such a comforting experience for me. And if you haven't given it a shot, once again, I highly, highly recommend you check it out. This game gets another perfect 10 out of 10 from me. My name is Colton Wiggs, and thank you for watching this review of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.